Hi, I'm Jimmy Ellis. I'm in Broken Arrow, and I'm going to go over determining if something is ID connected or not. I'm going to start by doing this with fast. So I'm going to recall my cal. Open, contents, recall, unfreeze, recall my cal. I'm going to check my cal. Just go to each mark for each side drill hole. 1 is at 1, 2 is at 2, 3 is at 3, 4 is at 4. Then I'm going to set my gain. I'm going to be working with the 300 thick notch blocks, so I want that 300 hole to be approximately 50% screen height, and I'm ready to go. Just as a review, I'm going to go to my 300 thick notch block, if you can see this, and I'm gonna walk each notch to the ID and beyond, just to review how those look when I got an ID connected flaw. And here's the deepest one, the 210 deep. You know, I can walk that back to 300 deep there and way beyond. Here's the 180 deep. I can walk that back to 300 deep and way beyond. The 150, I can walk it to 150 deep and way beyond. So they have a nice long walk. Now I have another block, the mid-wall sizing block. And that has a series of EDM slots in it. The block is also 300 thousandths thick, and this deepest mid-wall notch is 50% deep. It's got 150 thousandths through wall height. It's right in the center. That one's 50% deep, 40%, 30%. Let's go look at those on the block with fast. Here we are, if you can see this. Here's that 50% deep slot centered in the block. And when I look at that with fast, that looks like it's ID connected. It's got a good L-wave signal, and it walks a long way. It'd be hard for me to say that wasn't ID connected. Here's the 40% deep. Same thing, walks to the ID, continues walking a long way. Here's the 30% deep. Walks to the ID and continues walking a long way. Got a lot of mode converted signals. That's typical of any planar flaw with fast, a lot of mode converted signals. So these are not ID connected, but they looked ID connected. Okay, to verify if something was ID connected in the past, I would have recommended just using your 45 to look for a loud corner trap signal at the ID. And I'll demonstrate what that would look like. You know, if you go to your notched block with the notches down, look for the loud corner trap signal at the ID with a 45. That would have been my recommendation in the past. That would have worked something like this. Recall the 45-degree cal. Let's see, open, 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 contents, recall. Check the cal, go to the 4 side drill holes. 1 is near 1, 2 is near 2, 3 is near 3, 4 is near 4. I'm going to set my gain. I'm going to be working with the 300 thick block, so I'll go to the 300 hole. I want that to be approximately 50% screen height, so I'm good to go. I'm going to come and I'm going to look at the corner trap signal at the ID, and start with the 210 deep. The notches are down, so there is a corner trap signal there at the ID at 300 deep. There's a loud one. Here's the 180. So yeah, there's a loud corner trap signal at the ID for all of those, which is to be expected. All right, what was surprising was if you take and flip that block over so the notches are up, I'm going to come over here and look here at the ID with my 45. There's no corner there. And I'm going to look at this 180 at the ID. There is no corner there. But when I flip the block over, the notches are up now. And when I point at that area, it looks like there's a corner trap signal at the ID. This is the 210 with the notch up. Here's the 180 with the notch up. Again, it looks like there's a corner trap signal at the ID. What's happening is something like this. You know, with a 45, the sound can bounce out of there like a prism. You know, there's nothing for the 45 to reflect back from here, but it could do this and come back, or it could do this and come back. So it creates like a virtual corner. It makes it look like there's a corner trap signal. So if you do have a ID connection, there will be a corner with the 45, but there might be one there even if it's only close to being at the ID. Okay, I'm going to try and repeat that same thing now with the 60 degree. And I'm going to start by looking at the 60 degree with the notches down. There should be a nice loud corner trap reflector at the ID. And let me recall my cal. Open, 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 contents recall, unfreeze, and I'm going to check my cal. Go to the 100 hole, 1 is near 1. Go to the 2, 2 is near 2, 3 is near 3. 4 is near 4, and I'm going to set my gain. I'm going to be working with the 300 thick notched flux, so I'll go to the 300 hole, and I want that to be approximately 50% screen height, so I'm good to go. So I'm going to start by looking at these ID notches, the 210 notch, with the notches down. And there's a corner trap reflector near the ID. Here's the 180, here's the next one. There's a corner trap reflector near the ID. And there will be a corner trap reflector near the ID on all these, of course. Now, when I flip this over, though, like this, I'm going to look with the 60 here into these gaps. There are no corners there at the ID now. The notches are up. And when I look there at the ID, there's no corner trap signal near the ID being 300 deep. The next one is the 180. This gap is bigger. Again, there's no corner trap signal near the ID. And the 150, no corner trap signal near the ID. So, moral of the story. If you want to check if something is ID connected, you should look at it with the 45 and the 60, and it should look like there's a loud corner trap signal near the ID with both. And I apologize for those of you in the past that I said, if you want to check to see if something is ID connected, just look for it with your 45. Should look at it with your 45 and 60. If you got any questions about this, give me a call. Thanks a lot.